What is already Pretender here, back with another Honkai Star Rail guide, and today I'm here with the full pre-farm guide for the 3.3 second half character being Cipher. So this video I'm going to be taking you over everything you do need to know in order to max her, so this includes taking her from level 1 to 80 and maxing out all her traces. I'll also be talking about everything you can and cannot farm, so be sure to pay attention closely. I will also be giving Relic set and Planar Ornament recommendations, so you do know what you can farm. Do note this video will not account for her light cone. This will just account for, again, taking her from level 1 to 80 and maxing out her traces. This also won't be a relic guide, so I won't be talking about stats, stat recommendations, and all of that. That will be covered in a later build guide. I'll just be talking about the sets you can farm and Planar Ornaments. So all I want to say before I get to the video, if you guys found this video helpful in any way, shape, or form, drop a like would be greatly appreciated. If you do haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe and turn on the bell icon for future videos like this, along with all other types of Star Rail content and guides, and let's get straight into the video. Starting off with the common materials you do need. Credits wise, you do need about 3.9 million credits. Purple books wise, you do need 290 purple books. And for Tracks of Destiny, as she is a 5-star character, you do need 8 Tracks of Destiny. And for the common materials, she will be using these ones down here, and you need a total of 56 of the green ones, 71 of the blue ones, and 73 of the purple ones. These ones are new, so like me, you might not have too many, but it is very easy to farm these materials. You can just track them if you have them. If you have Acheron, you can use your technique and one-shot them and farm really fast. You can also use the assignment, just set your assignments to this one right here, and then you will actually accumulate them over time. We do have a while until Cipher, as she's the second half character, so you will have plenty of time to farm this up. For the Stagnant Shadow Ascension material, she will be using this one at the very top right here, so the one in the Murmuring Woods. So not any of these ones, but the one at the very top, the one that looks like a broken moon. And you will need a total of 65 of these. It's really easy to farm Stagnant Shadow Ascension materials, as you get like 5 per run at the highest level. So I definitely recommend knocking this out the way first when it comes to using your stamina, as it practically only takes a day and a little bit worth of stamina. So you can get it done very quickly, and then you won't have to worry about it as you farm for the rest. For the trace material, she will be using the one from the Alchemy Commission bottom Nihility, and not the one on the bottom, so not this one, but this top one right here. And you will need a total of 18 of the green ones, 69 of the blue ones, and 139 of the purple ones. Moment you finish Stagnant Shadow, I recommend hopping on this as soon as possible, just because traces will always be cringe. Thankfully, again, you have plenty enough time until she does release, as she's second half. So you very much easily will be able to fully farm her by the time her banner gets here. But it's still best as you started on it as soon as possible, just because you want to get it out the way, because you don't want to have to deal with the cancer later. For the Echo of War material, so this one is actually going to be requiring a new weekly boss that will also drop in the 3.3 update. So on the week that 3.3 drops, which is like 2 weeks from now, I recommend you save your weekly attempts just so you can use all 3 of them on the new boss when it does drop. Because you can't really convert them or anything, so don't use any of these. As she isn't going to use those, there will be a new boss in 3.3 when the first half does drop. Now for Relic set farming, overall her best one is seeming to be the Pioneer set, as she is also a debuff based DPS, and the 2-piece gives damage dealt increased by 12% to enemies with debuffs, and the 4-piece increases crit rate by 4%, and wear deals 8%/12% increased crit damage to enemies with at least 2/3 debuffs. And after the wear inflicts a debuff on enemies, aforementioned effect increased by 100%. So you just want to make sure you do always have 3 debuffs on the enemies, and Cipher at her base does actually have a debuff to proc this. And if you have her light cone, that gives her another debuff, so you're able to do a lot more with the effect on her own. And her best teams are usually debuff based. You usually run her outside Acheron, which is purely a debuff based team. You can often run her with Feixiao, which the fall-off team has plenty of access to debuffs as well. So on her best teams, she usually is going to always have the full effect be proc. And so usually once you do proc it, it is the best. So overall, Pioneer does seem like it's going to be your best in slot. You can actually also use the Genius set 4-piece, which 2-piece increases quantum damage by 10%, which she is quantum, so it's worth. And the 4-piece gives 10% defense ignore when dealing damage to an enemy, and if they have quantum weakness, they additionally ignore 10% defense, so up to a 20% defense ignore. 20% on its own, if you are able to get the full effect, is nice. But if you have other sources on the team, such as defense shred, such as more defense ignore given to Cipher, it becomes that much stronger. That obviously depends on what team you're running her on, what buffs you're getting, what defense like debuffs you have on the enemy. So it very much depends on the team you are running. At base, the 4-piece is strong, but it gets stronger when you pair with other sources of defense ignore and other sources of defense shred. But even just the 4-piece on its own with no other sources, it still can be good. You just want to make sure they have quantum weakness, otherwise it does fall off a great bit. Past that, it will just be combining 2-piece 2-pieces, so you can just do 2-piece like Quantum, 2-piece Scholar for the extra crit rate, but she has a good amount of crit rate access on her actual kit when you do build it properly with her speed and such. So you probably won't need to do that, but it is an option. Or 2-piece of one of those with 2-piece Pioneer. Also doing 2-piece of any of those with 2-piece of one of the speed increasing sets, as she does want to be built relatively fast, so Hacker Space and also Relieved Ordeal. Or 2-piece of any of those with 2-piece of one of the attack percent sets. It's definitely best to just get 4-piece Pioneers or 4-piece Genius, but you can do 2-piece while you at least get a set. When it comes to Opponent Ornament, she does actually have a few options. A very common one is going to be running Glamoth, which gives 12% attack. And when the wearer's speed is equal to or higher than 135/160, the wearer deals 12%/18% more damage. A proper build Cipher is going to want to have over 170 speed, so you practically will just be getting the free effect, so 12% attack on top of that of just dealing 18% overall more damage with everything you do, is why it's going to be an effective set. If you're not using Glamoth, then you can also use something like Dern on a follow-up team. She actually has a decent amount of follow-up attacks on herself, so you can use it outside of it, but you mainly want to use it on a follow-up attack team. And if you have other follow-up attack characters, it's a lot easier to stack, as it gives you 5% increase to damage dealt by the follow-up attack every time you do use a follow-up attack, which also includes the wearer, just doesn't mention it. So you can get up to a 25% increase to follow-up attack damage. And once you do also get 5 stacks, you additionally get 25% crit damage. So 25% increase to your follow-up attack, which you're going to be using a pretty good ton, and the 25% increase to crit damage is going to increase every source you do when you are critting. So both of those increases is going to be nice. On top of that, you can actually go ahead and use Salsato as well if you do have good pieces. 8% crit rate once you have 50% or higher crit rate, which she has no problem doing because she gives herself crit rate as well. You get an ultimate and follow-up attack damage dealt increased by 15%. Follow-up attack is going to be one of her main sources of damage, and her ultimate is a big proc thing, so you usually are going to want a pretty big increase to that ultimate as well. So this also focusing on the ultimate is very nice. So Salsato is actually another option you can use. And yet that practically is it. So for a quick reiteration, purple books wise you need about 290, credits wise you need 3.9 million, tracks of destiny you do need 8, for common materials it is this one down here, needing 56 of the green ones, 71 of the blue ones, and 73 of the purple ones. Diamond Shadow material, she'll be using this one right here at the very top from the Murmuring Woods, and you do need a total of 65 of these. Echo of War, once again, she is going to be using a new one that will drop in 3.3 update, so do not waste any of these if you do not need them, because she will not be using any of these. When the update does drop, just be sure to save your weekly reward claims, and then you can get all 3 reward claims when the weekly boss does drop. For Relic sets, overall the best one is going to be running 4-piece Pioneer, so farming this or just using this if you already have good pieces will be the way to go. If not that, you still can use 4-piece Genius set if you are taking her against an enemy that does have quantum weakness. You can still use it against enemies that don't have quantum weakness, it becomes weaker, and if you have other sources of giving defense ignore to your teams, and if you have other sources of defense ignore, specifically giving it the Cipher, then it becomes a lot more stronger. If you have defense shed, it becomes stronger, and so on. If not either of those, you just do 2 pieces, so 2-piece Quantum with 2-piece Pioneer, or one of those with 2-piece Scholar, or 2-piece of any of those with one of the speed increasing sets if you can't hit 170 plus speed. Or 2-piece of one of those with 2-piece of one of the attack percent increasing sets. For ornaments, one of her best ones are going to be Glamoth, as she's able to make use of the full effect. On a follow-up team, you can very much use Dern as well. Even on a non-follow-up tech team, you still can use Dern as she's able to stack it up herself. A little slower, but she still can do it. And you can also use Inert Salsato, as she does get a good increase to her ultimate and follow-up attack damage, which is going to be her 2 primary sources of damage. And yet that is the full pre-farm guide for Cipher. You can practically pre-farm everything, it's just the Echo of War, which it'll be easy to knock that out of the way right as it does drop. But at least you can farm the proper relic sets, you can farm the proper materials besides the Echo of War again. But yeah, that's all I want to say. Once again, if you guys found the video helpful, drop a like, it would be greatly appreciated. If you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe and turn the bell icon for future videos like this, along with all the types of star content and guides, and I'll see you later. Peace out.